Hello and welcome for this new live for this last release of the year for Xen Orchestra. This is the 5.102. And as usual, we'll start to discuss about the project and community. But as you know, as it's the last release for 2024, that's the opportunity we discuss a bit about what happened last year and giving you some stats and a recap on what happened. So let's dive into it right now. So the first thing that is cool to read is a kind of recap the graphic gave on what happened at Vates in 2024. We call that a year transformation because, frankly, it was really, really huge for Vates as a company. As a team, as we really grew fast, we tripled the number of people working at Vates in only 2 years, since Broadcom made the announcement of acquisition of VMware. And today, this really changed, forever who we are and where we're going without changing our values and staying open source and so on. So if you want to take a look and read more about all the details, the numbers, the number of people join, the training certification program we delivered, the big events we had, and so on, feel free to take a look at the dedicated blog post to give you some exciting numbers about all of that. I won't go into all the details, but it's really, really cool to see those numbers showcasing the success we had this year. Let's go back a bit more about Xen Orchestra itself, as we decided also to take a look behind and check what happened this year about Xen Orchestra itself. And I made some numbers yesterday. I compiled some numbers on GitHub and Git with some commands, and that was pretty interesting to see. We had just this year 20 new committers. People came working at Vates, but also external people. We got almost 700 pull requests merged, which is really, really huge. We had 123 issue closed. We added so many features. Just this year, when you do recap about just the backup, you got CBT support, mirror backup, chain backup, immutability, auto retry, better reports for all the backup, grandfather, father, and son retention, and other features we'll discuss just today. And we also started to release and to roll out, everything that we needed for creating EXO number 6 and EXO Lite. Also more coming in this, session. And I made some statistics about, the code that is. You can see the year, and you could see that 2024 was truly growing big as the team is coming bigger. So that's really interesting to see that growing pretty fast as the team is growing. But that's not the only interesting metric to see. The other metric that is interesting is to see the percentage of lines that is owned by someone, and this gives you a sneak peek on the fact that it becoming a project that there is more and more contributors coming and not the work of 2 or 3 people. And I mean, sure, you can grow the team, but the real metric is showing that there is more and more people able to contribute to the code internally. So that's why seeing the biggest contributor, our CTO Julian, getting a lower and lower number of contribution is really good news, showing that we have more people, and you can see the number of lines in the last 2 years is really, really growing. So that's to me important in showcasing the health of the project. Switching topic in a more general stuff, we'll be at the FOSDEM, the one of the biggest open source events in the year, and it's in Europe, in Brussels. We'll have a booth this year, and we'll have a part of the team that will be there, especially likely a part of the Xen Orchestra team. So if you want to say hi, remember this event is entirely free without any registration. There's many other cool and exciting open source projects there, and we'll have some T-shirts and stickers and so on. So really, it's worth traveling to Brussels to see all of that, and we'll be happy to see you there. At the same time, almost at the same times, we are finalizing the Xen Project Winter meeting, which is let's say, a more technical deep dive into the Xen hypervisor events, but we are really proud to host it. And the program will be published. So sadly, the talks won't be recorded, but we'll make you a recap on the great news and what's next for the Xen hypervisor. Probably regarding many interesting things for the end users, like for example nested virtualization and so on. A lot of work will be done to try to improve the hypervisor in general, and we try to lead those efforts. So stay tuned about the outcome of the meeting, because we'll probably announce really cool stuff to come. Regarding the community, we have also something that was improved this month with this, I wouldn't say official, but at least OpenBSD is now working in 8.3 because it didn't before that. Some people pinpoint the issue that was related to the last version of Xen we used into XCP NG 8.3. And thanks to some people like Nigel on the forum, submitted a patch to OpenBSD upstream, and then it was merged. And finally, if you try a version that is recent, like in December, then it's now working again. So that's really great news. And we did nothing on our side at Vates, but we are really proud to have our community that is, leading those efforts to be sure that whatever OS they like is working with our solution. And we're proud to get OpenBSD working again on XCP NG 8.3. So, kudos to the community, and happy to get, OpenBSD back running on top of our solution. So that's great. Back to Xen Orchestra, but also in the community stuff. We are also happy to announce that we started to work on getting WebLate running in a self-hosted fashion. So WebLate is like a website that is helping you to get translation of your software. Basically, right now, you can already help to translate, and we have many translations already, done in the past, but you had to go on GitHub to create an account, to fork the project, to modify your JSON, then to create a pull request, and then to be merged if there's nothing to review, and so on. So it works, but it's not optimal, and it's not great for non-technical users. So the goal of WebLate is to make translation a lot easier, and you just fill some forms directly inside the UI, and then you click on submit, and automatically this will submit a PR that we could review. So that's really great, and this is really meant to get more contributors, because that's something that is critical for us. So as usual, it's self-hosted on our own VMs running on top of XCP-ng, and backup with Xen Orchestra, because that's what we do, dogfooding. Anyway, we'll announce when it will be generally available for everyone to contribute, but it's just in testing phase right now. Maybe in January or February, at least Q1, that will be out, and everyone could add whatever language you want to have in Exolite or Exo6. And that's it for the project and community. So now let's dive into the Xen Orchestra December release exactly on what's new. So as usual, we start with backups. And we created a new option called sync backup merging. So this is a way to tell to the backups to make the merge when the transfer is done. So every merge will be done in the same time. So obviously, the merge time will be counted in the backup time, so this will make your backup job a bit longer. However, the great thing about it is if you have a mirror backup after that, you will be 100% sure that everything is merged before the mirror backup will start. And if you have chain backup and so on, it's a lot better, because a job is considered now finished when all merge is done, and all merge are done in parallel. So also it could affect your I/O performance, because all merge are done in parallel. So if you want to try, if you have lock issues or error message and so on, now you could go in the settings of your backup job and check the merge backup sync and toggle on this option to see if it's better for you. And if you use chain backup jobs or mirror backup, that's probably the best approach to do it, to be sure everything is working well. And we also took the time to add an information bubble when you hover on it, to be sure that you understand what it means to enable it or not. Let's switch and still on the backup, but to another feature that you could create a tag. If you do not want to have VM being health check, you have the auto restore health check. For example, on a job, you could restore to test the VMs. That's great. And I mean, a backup, an untested backup is not really a backup. So if you use that, tag, it will be ignored. So all VMs with this tag won't be tested. Sometimes it makes sense, because you want to back up things, okay, but you do not maybe want to test the backups because it's not production or whatnot. Remember, if you use, the tag creation with equal, this will give you those, kind of extended tags where you could give the reason if you want. So, for example, if you use no health check equal QA, the tag will be displayed that way, and you will know why you don't want to make the health check. So that's really convenient, and it's a reminder that complex tags are great because you could insert whatever you need inside it and provide more information. So pretty neat features, pretty easy to do in the end, but required by many people to be able to avoid testing non-critical backups, let's say. We also improved the documentation regarding the long-term retention because we did release the GFS, grandfather and son retention last month, but without enough details on how it works. So now you could just click on this link and you will have all the explanation you need to go deeper regarding how it works and how you can use it and so on. Let's switch to the core UI. So as a reminder, the core UI is the same new UI that is used both for Exolite and Exo6 because they're sharing the same components. So we created new components. It's still moving forward from the Figma design done by our UX designer. So it's still moving forward, and the front team grew a lot recently. So it's going faster and faster. And on the meantime, so that's the visible part of the components, we also worked a lot about many, let's say, behind the scene things that make it a lot easier to work with Exo6 Lite with a new centralized task system. So now when an event is happening, it's centralized, so we could use that event to show wherever we want or access it wherever we want. So we could check the states, we could extend it, we could have a specific logic regarding if this event happening, we should do this and that. And so it will be consistent for the entire app. So this took a lot of time, but we are pretty confident that's a great system. The next one is a new menu management system. So, menus are everywhere now in the new UI. So you have to know how it will behave. It's an internal link, an external link, a task, a job, a documentation, how it's integrated with the submenus and so on. So we did a kind of a small framework to, make it, let's say, logical. So when you create something, you could automatically tell what it means and why it's here, and it will be positioned and toggle correctly depending on the context you're providing. So it will be really helpful to go even faster in the future as we add more and more features in the menu and so on. Another thing that we took time to make, and this where it's really important for the community, is to get some guidelines for all our components, because we are doing the components right now at Vates, but everyone who wants to contribute is welcome. So it could be new people coming at the company, but also external people. So that's why we take time to build improved guidelines to be sure that if you are new on the project, you know how to write stuff, how to be consistent, all of that. So that's why it's important. It takes time, sure, but in the end, you are winning because everyone new within the project will be, will follow those guidelines, and it means less time to review the pull request and so on. So specifically regarding Exo6, we added a new card, which is the pull status, telling you how many pulls are connected or unreachable or now. So it means then the dashboard, or let's say most of the dashboard, is now complete. So it was this missing card. So you have all the information on the basic thing. So as a reminder, if you want to access that, you just have to use the V6 extension at the end of your URL of your XOA. And then if you do that, then you can access this new dashboard, which is pretty cool, and obviously expect more features to come. And that's a great transition to talk about the REST API. So the REST API is now the, let's say, default API for all the new stuff we are doing in Xen Orchestra. And so as we added the pull status in the dashboard, we also added it into the slash dashboard endpoint. So if you make an HTTP GET request on the slash dashboard of the REST API, you will have now the new data regarding the pull status, which is pretty convenient because what you see in the, in the screen could be directly fetched without any computation directly with the HTTP endpoint. So if you want to build your own dashboard, then it's pretty easy. You just fetch the data. It's a JSON, you parse it, and you do whatever you like. So it's really, in the new mindset of being API centered, like even if we spend a lot of time for the UI and the UX, obviously, we want to build stuff meant to be used for automation in the future. So that's why we are working on that to make it first-class citizen. Now, with the REST API, you can also, when you create a VM, manage all the disks, providing the size, whatever position and so on. So we got all the examples here. I won't go into the details, but it means that now VM creation is fully done with the REST API. So you could, last month, it was all about creating the virtual interfaces, now the virtual disk. So now you can configure absolutely everything from the API to create your VMs directly. So again, if you want to use something else than the UI or CLI, it's up to you to build whatever you need on top of it, or any automation scenario you want to do, thanks to this new REST API. Let's switch to another topic, the Airgap features. So, this year was really like many companies, and especially in sensitive areas, ask us to get Xen Orchestra virtual appliance and XCPNG running the full Airgap network, meaning there is absolutely no internet access, sometimes for security reasons, sometimes for just, being on a boat or on an oil rig where you don't have direct internet connection or any internet connection. So we had to adapt the product, and we just finished like last month, and this month we also finished to build a complete documentation that you can request if you are deploying in an Airgap environment, that we could provide along with a full Airgap Xen Orchestra appliance and all the packages you need to update your XCP, after it's deployed and so on, through USB key or whatever you want to use, as you will be able to download the package offline. Let's switch to the last section, the Misc section, which is pretty decent for December month. So just to tell you that with all the holidays at the end of the year, we decide to make only one sprint. Usually for a month in Xen Orchestra, we do 2 sprints. One for the first half of the month and one for the second half. This month we didn't have time to do that, so we just did 1 sprint. But despite that, we still managed to release a pretty decent number of features. We've seen, on the backup, but that's not just it. Also in the Misc section, we updated the sign-in page design to match, the new UI, so it's more consistent. Another very cool feature I like very much is now we can edit the Xen Store entries directly in the UI. So Xen Store is the key value pair system that is used for the tools, for example, to get the IP addresses from your VMs to Xen Orchestra or the API. Now you can create your own Xen Store entries. You create a new one, full bar. And then if you go into the VM and you use Xen Store read foo, you will get the key bar. The only limitation is it's not refreshed while the VM is running. So you need to boot with the VM with the new entry added. But if you write the data directly inside the VM, this will make the API and Xen Orchestra up to date instantly. So if you do from the VM and Xen Store write VM data /foo and you took the value baz for the key foo, then immediately in Xen Orchestra you will see that the key that was previously bar is now baz. So that's really great because you can send messages to XO, whatever you need internally from your guest. So use it wisely. It's not meant to transfer files. It's just key values, but it could be useful to do whatever you'd like to transmit from the VM to Xen Orchestra or add boot from Xen Orchestra to the VM. For example, that's how we use that for when you deploy Xen Orchestra. We have a script that is on boot reading the values you pass, like IP address and so on and so on. And we use that to configure your Xen Orchestra virtual appliance. So anyway, that's really handy. And now you can just set it right from the web UI. Another cool feature is rolling pull update scheduling. So rolling pull update, if you remember, the feature that you just click on a button and then automatically your pull will be updated, meaning that the master will be evacuated, the VMs will be migrated to the host. The host will be, updated, the package will be updated, then the host will be rebooted, and then when it's back online, then VMs are moved back to the host, and then we do the second one, third one, and so on and so on. So we decided now that you could also use that rolling pull update feature directly in the job configurator, I would say. So you create the job, which is basically, okay, I want to create a job that is called a weekly RPU with a pull running update, save, and that's it. And then you create the schedule, we name weekly, obviously, for the job weekly RPU, and only on Sunday, for example, at 3 a.m., 30 a.m. for, every month. And this means that every week at 3 a.m. on Sunday, an RPU would be triggered. If there's no updates, nothing will happen. And if there is updates, automatically the RPU will be triggered. So you don't even have to, check if you are up to date. It will be applied automatically. Obviously, you should probably do that outside production hours, even if we have an excellent track record of never distributing any broken updates. Still, as a former sysadmin, I would say that it's better to do that when there's less activity, because in case there's anything happening, you will have time, a buffer time, to be sure that there's no problem. Anyway, that's pretty handy, and I will enable that on my own production, on the Vates infrastructure production, because I trust a lot the updates, and that would be a great way to keep up to date, even when there's urgent security features and so on. No need to just wonder about it. You will be always up to date. We also improve the alarm notifications. If there's, for example, a failure in the multipath alert telling you that a path was going down for whatever reason, you will be aware about that in the alarm screen now, and it will tell you that the status of the bound changed. It was like half was up, now two is up, so that's great. But I mean, that's giving more details about potential alarms. It wasn't added into there, so now it's the case. So even if you have a network problem now in your bound, it will be visible. Another interesting thing to expose what's going on is the MDADM status that is now visible directly inside Xen Orchestra. So if you are using software red, and if there is a problem, you will have a red triangle telling you that the RAID needs your attention. It may be degraded, maybe you have a problem, and so on. And you can see in the advanced section of the host, the RAID status, if you are using a software RAID. Obviously, if you don't, there is no message here, but it's still pretty handy when you have to rely on that. And finally, the two last features, we took time to document the cloud-based init support. It was released last month, but again, the thing is, getting feature is great, but having a documentation for the feature is even better. So now in the advanced section of the doc, you have everything you need. Remember, cloud-based init is meant for Windows, and you have all the requirements that you need to use for that. And it works pretty well, and it's pretty handy if you are Windows users to get that running. I'm sorry. And finally, we are able to list all the missing patches for Xen Server 8. And believe me, it wasn't trivial because it's changing a lot. So, sorry, I'm taking some water. Better. So anyway, that's it for this release. I hope you enjoy the new year. Thank you very much for following it, and see you next year. Bye-bye.